There are many ways of playing Magic the Gathering, and Pioneer is a brewer's paradise.
Shaped by the semi-constant bannings in its early day, that is the way to play that attract the lovers of the weirdest combos and wildest decks.
We had our viewers at home vote for the 16 best Pioneer decks in history and played a tournament pitting them against each other to find the strongest one.
And now we finally have it. We have a top 8 of what could easily be the best Pioneer decks of all time.
And after 7 videos, we'll finally be able to crown the best Pioneer deck ever. Thoralf, best deck ever. Who is going to be the king of Pioneer?
Here we go.
Whoever wins this goes to the semifinals, and then if they win there, they go to the finals, and then their deck is the best Pioneer deck ever. This is the beginning of the best Pioneer deck ever series, and this series is gonna be a banger because I get to play some of my favorite archetypes. Nexus Fog is a deck that combines 2 very strong cards. The first of one is Fog. All it does is bridge me into the late game. Thoralf can attack me a few times, and eventually, once the damage is gonna be lethal, I can start casting Fog, preventing him from winning the game until I get to a point where I start casting Nexus of Fate. And you'll see, in this deck, it's not hard to cast infinite Nexus of Fate and play infinite turns. At which point I don't need Fog anymore. I have infinite turns to find a way to win the game. And I like this hand.
I love it. Welcome everybody, it's time again for the best deck ever series. This time we're playing Pioneer and we have so many awesome decks lined up in the next 7 weeks. But today, I'm going to play one of the best decks that ever faced the earth of Pioneer. It's Felidar Guardian combo. And even though my starting hand looks like it's just kind of a very good mid-range deck, we do have a very potent 2-card combo in our deck that consists of Felidar Guardian blinking a permanent and Saheeli Rai copying a permanent. If you put them together, you have a lot of infinite cats which can attack in the same turn. I get to play with a card I haven't played for a long time.
I get to play with Fogs, which are basically my favorite card because I love Magic, and when you cast a Fog, you get to play more Magic.
No kidding, I played a lot of Fogs.
It's a good card. So I will start as my first action for the best deck ever series Pioneer. I'll play a tap Breeding Pool and pass the turn.
You know what? I see your Breeding Pool, and I play a Breeding Pool as well, but also I pay 2 life.
That's because it's worse.
Because it makes a mana right away, because I'm gonna use that mana to cast an Oath of Nissa. When Oath of Nissa enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of my library. Then I can pick a land, creature, or planeswalker, which is funny because it's all 3 of them.
Oh yes! If you were unsure, you could have just listed these off.
Put 1 of them into my hand, and I can now cast planeswalker with any mana, which is sometimes relevant. I will take Alana Elf, so you can go.
I'll one you up here, I think. So, Oko is a very scary card.
It is.
Luckily, I think I'm playing one of the only decks that doesn't really care that much about Oko because all my permanents are enchantments. I'll play a Search for Azcanta. I have played this card a lot. It's an enchantment. It does nothing right now. But on each of my upkeeps, I can look at the top card and decide if I want to keep it on top and draw it or put it in my graveyard. And then if I have 7 or more cards in my graveyard, and I can tell you I'll get a lot there, it flips, becomes a land that basically reads, I win the game.
This is the engine I'm afraid of. Okay, good start.
Are you gonna play a 3-mana enchantment?
I'm gonna show you my engine, which is an action engine because it's a vehicle. Choo-choo! It's the Heart of Kiran. 2 mana, 4/4 flying vigilance. It does have crew 3, so it's a bit hard to crew, but if I remove a loyalty counter from a planeswalker, wink wink, I can crew it for nothing. So brace yourself. Go.
I have a trigger. Search for Azcanta. I look at the top card. It's almost always going to be going to my graveyard.
Even if it's a card you want it in your graveyard more.
Thoralf's deck is one that can just win in 1 turn. You can untap and win on the spot. So we're gonna have to play optimally because we're playing with open deck lists and he knows I don't have any counter spells in my deck before sideboards. So we're gonna have to put our heart on our sleeve and roll up those sleeves because we're gonna have to play as optimally as possible. So we're gonna tap out this turn because it might be the last turn we ever get to untap before being afraid of Thoralf winning on the spot. We're gonna have to get enough mana and race him to whoever can get to their pivotal turn and win the game. I know it says instant on this and I promise you I read it because I know this card very well, but I'll play a Growth Spiral, which allows me to draw a card and then put a land card from my hand onto the battlefield. I really hope this is a land. Oh, it is! I'll put a Fable Passage onto the battlefield.
You were the best one.
It's the best one! I can sacrifice and get lands. I'll play another Fable Passage. Normally when I sacrifice these, I can search my library for any basic land and put it into play tapped. But then if I control 4 more lands, I'll untap it. I'll do that again. Tap, untap. So now that I have my deck out of order and 2 mana, I'm going to tap out for a strategic planning. Look at the top 3 cards in my library, put 1 of them into my hand and the rest in your graveyard, and I don't even need to tell you which one it is.
It's this one.
How did you know? The rest goes in my graveyard.
Okay.
And I'll pass the turn.
Graveyard count?
7.
That's very good. I'll draw. Ooh, okay, I drew a Saheeli. So for now, my turn was very well planned out. I played Heart of Kyrian, I can play an Oko. That were the best cards and the only cards I could play. But now since I have a Saheeli, I have to make a decision. What do I want to play? Oko or Saheeli? Both of them are really powerful 3-mana Planeswalker, but both of them also fulfill a different requirement. Am I going for the fastest win? Then I have to cast Saheeli because Saheeli could technically win next turn if I find a Felidar Guardian. But if I want to win on average the quickest, I might have to play an Oko because that is the most damage right now and can win also in 2 or 3 turns easily. Since Oko promises a 3-turn win, I attack for 4, for 7, and then for 10, which is 21. I think we can play Oko here and just take the guaranteed 3-turn window instead of banking on Saheeli and then missing and not finding anything. I said it didn't come up, but I actually found a way. I play an Inspired Vantage untapped, which is my 3rd land, and then I will make 2 red and a blue to cast an Oko.
Traditionally, mono red Oko, yes.
Because Oath of Nissa allows me to do so I'm gonna do it. 4+2, I'll make a food.
Yes.
Because I have a Planeswalker with loyalty, I promised, I have a crewing vehicle that I can crew without using creatures, I can use loyalty. So the ship is gonna wreck you.
All that work just to hit me for 4. Oko is usually a very scary Planeswalker. But we're playing one of the only decks that doesn't really care. I didn't see Infinite Cats on the board, so I don't mind. Beginning of my upkeep, I can't even put this card in the graveyard if I wanted to. So put it into my hand. And this flips.
What could that be?
When Search for Escanta flips, it can tap for 1 blue.
It's an island.
Or I can tap it and pay 3, look at the top 4 cards in my library, and put any card that's not a creature or land into my hand. I'll play a Wilderness Reclamation.
Oi, oi, oi.
At the beginning of my end step, I untap all lands I control. Now that works in ways that if you've not seen this card, that you would consider cheating.
It is incredibly strong.
I'll play Forest. And now, I will pass the turn to myself. Because I'll pay 2, and at the beginning of my end step, I'll untap all lands I control. And I will pay an extra 5, and play Nexus of Fate. The card in my deck is named after, well, half of it. Nexus of Fate just allows me to take an extra turn, right? That's fine, that's a normal Magic card. But it can't go in my graveyard because they didn't want me to get it back, which is completely fair. So instead of going to my graveyard, I have to shuffle it back into my library.
It would be tragic if in your graveyard you can return it instead of just drawing it over and over and over again.
But who would draw it over and over and over again? You'd have to empty your whole library. Is it my turn?
I don't think I have any authority to deny that.
Thank you. Now I'll play another engine. This is Tamio.
Hello.
Collector of Tales. Has a neat ability that doesn't really matter against you, but spells and abilities my opponents control can't cause me to discard cards or sacrifice permanents. So now I'm gonna +1 her up to 6. I'll choose a non-land card name, then reveal the top 4 cards of my library, put all cards with the chosen name from amongst them into my hand and the rest into my graveyard. And I will name Dig Through Time, which is a card that's not banned in Pioneer and I don't know why. Ooh, Dig Through Time. Oh, this Nexus of Fate can't go to my graveyard, so I'm gonna have to shuffle it into my library. And then I'll put a Blast Zone into play. Now, normally, that spell costs a lot of mana. So, I wouldn't get to play it, but now I get to tap out with impunity, because I'll get to untap later. So I'll tap 3 and exile 5 cards from my graveyard, which is good. I want my cards to be exiled to play Dig Through Time, which is a 8-mana spell, which allows me to look at the top 7 cards of my library and put 1 of them into my hand. Did I say 1? I meant 2! Because this card is very powerful. So I'll put these 2 into my hand, the rest at the bottom of my library. And then unfortunately I have to pass the turn with all my lands tapped. No, I untap them! And then...
But it's my turn?
It is your turn,
oh!
Unfortunately.
You know, this deck makes you appreciate of every turn you have because it might be... Don't get me wrong, it looks really dire and Carl had a fantastic start. Unfortunately, our deck is not really equipped to deal with most of Carl's things since he's only acting on a spell base. But I do have a little trap and it might just work. Because Brazen Borer can bounce a permanent and Wilderness Reclamation only untaps at the end of turn, maybe if Carl gets too cocky, he will tap most of his lands during his main phase, expecting to them to untap and gain an extra turn through Nexus of Fate. But then if we bounce the Wilderness Reclamation, he might lose his turn and therefore the game. I'll take 2 from a breeding pool, use the green mana to cast a Lano Elf.
So powerful.
Then I will turn my food into an elk.
Oh, you brought it back to life.
Yeah. Then, I mean, we're gonna crew again. So it goes back to 5 and we're gonna attack for 7, which
Ooh, me or Tamio?
is going to be you.
Just little old me?
My turns in this game are limited.
Whoa, don't write down the life totals yet. My deck is called Nexus Fog, and I've cast Nexus. So first of all, I'm gonna go digging for a fog. I'll play Hieroglyphic Illumination. Just draws 2 cards. Is it a fog? Who knows? Then, I'll play fog. Prevent all combat damage. This version has a lot more text than that, but trust me.
It is prevented, yes.
Wonderful. I take not 7. I got tons more where that came from.
Go.
I'll draw a card. I will minus my Tamio as a show of dominance and bring back Fog to my hand. So if you minus 3, you can get a card back from your graveyard and put it into your hand.
So you basically gained an extra turn as well.
For now, I will play an island. And as I go to the end of turn,
I will have to, at least try. I will tap 2 and cast Petty Theft, which is the adventure side of Brazen Borrower,
you're doing this at my end step?
in your second main phase.
Oh, after combat. Oh, I forgot about combat.
There's no combat. Not for you. It returns to your hand.
So we're at the beginning of my second main phase after combat. So I don't have a trigger on the stack.
Not yet.
Okay, in response, I'll take an extra turn.
It's a good response.
It doesn't even go to my graveyard. I shuffle it back into my library. It's back in my hand, yes. The annoying thing for Thoralf here is that this deck doesn't even win 100% from here, so he still has to sit here and watch me. So do you.
I think you're very, very close to 100%.
Do you want to find out?
Show me.
It's my turn. I'll draw for my turn. So first of all, I will tick up my Tamio and name Nexus of Fate. So reveal 4 cards and any Nexus of Fates go into my hand. Oh, no Nexus of Fates. Everything else goes into my graveyard. Then I will play my Wilderness Reclamation. We remember that one, the one that untaps at end of turn all of my lands. Then I will play a Blast Zone. It'll get a counter as well. And I will pay 4 for my Search for Ascanta, meaning I reveal the top 4 cards in my library and I put any Nexus of Fates into my hand. No, well, it could be any, but I'll take a Nexus of Fate. Then I have an untap trigger. I'll untap everything I have. And at the end of the turn, I will pay 7 to take an extra turn after this one. So I shuffle my Nexus of Fate into my deck. And then I take my extra turn. I draw for turn. I will plus Tamio, look for Nexus of Fate. I look at the top 4, put any Nexus of Fate into my hand. Oh, no Nexus of Fates. I will activate Search for Ascanta, look at the top 4 cards in my library, and try to hit a Nexus of Fate. Oh, I did not. I did hit a Dig Through Time. I'm going to play a Dig Through Time. Exiling 6 cards from my graveyard to look at the top 7 cards in my library, find a Nexus of Fate or 2, and put them into my hand. What, is this my birthday? Yeah, I'll put these 2 cards into my hand. Let's go at the bottom of my library, and I'll play a Growth Spiral. I'll draw a card. Put a land from my hand onto the battlefield. Unfortunately, I don't have any lands. I'll untap. I'll play a Nexus of Fate. Look at that, I found one. I'm so lucky. So it'll shuffle back into my deck. And then I'll go into my turn. I'll draw a card for my turn. I'll play a Hinterland Harbor. And now we are going in turbo mode. But first, I'm gonna tick up my Tamio. I'm gonna look at the top 4 cards in my library and put any Nexus of Fates into my hand. They all go in my graveyard. So then, it's turbo mode. We will play a Wilderness Reclamation. At the end of my end step, I untap all lands I control, and yes, this works the way you think it does. So I'll activate Search for Ascanta. Is that sweet or salty?
Sweet.
To look at the top 4 cards in my library, and put no, I'll put this into my hand. I'll opt. I'll look at the top card in my library,
Very good.
put it into my hand.
Do you think you can finish the game before I finish this bowl of popcorn?
I felt annoying, but now extra incentive. I'll untap all my permanents. I'll take an extra turn after this one.
Okay.
I shuffle this into my library. I pay 3. I untap all my permanents. Now I have 1 extra turn. I'll use the extra 3 to pay for Search for Ascanta, which looks at the top 4 cards. And then I will show you a Nexus of Fate, and I'll play it. Now I have 2 extra turns.
Oh.
So I'll go into one of my 2 extra turns. I'll untap.
Cards in hand?
4. Aren't we having fun, Thoralf? I'll play a basic island. I will plus my Tamio and say Nexus of Fate. I really hope I hit a Nexus of Fate. I'll put 4 cards. Oh, this Nexus of Fate goes into my hand. These go into my graveyard. I'll play Nexus of Fate. I will use Search for Ascanta to look at the top 4 cards in my library show you this Nexus of Fate, and put it into my hand.
Very good.
I'll untap. I will play a Nexus of Fate, which gives me an extra turn, and then I'll search for a Scanta, looking at 4 cards, showing you this Nexus of Fate, putting it into my hand. Then I'll untap all my permanents for the first time. I'll look at the top 4 cards in my library. I'll show you an opt, and then untap the second time. I will play this Nexus of Fate, shuffle into my library.
Now, I don't know why I'm still alive, but I don't see a way that you kill me.
It's coming. Show you this.
The hunger is killing me. I got it.
But you solved it by finding the popcorn. Show you this Nexus of Fate. Go into my turn. I will do a +4 on the Tameo. Look at the top 4 cards. Show you this Nexus of Fate. The rest goes in my graveyard. I will opt. Look at the top card. Put it at the bottom. Draw this card.
I might respond now.
Yes, what do you want to do?
I will crew the vehicle with my uncle.
Well played. No! No distractions, Thoralf! I'll play this Lumbering Falls. I will get an extra turn. I shuffle this into my library. Ooh, I wonder what's in here. I'll find out by paying 3.
How many cards are those?
Looking at my 3 cards and putting this strategic planning into my hand. I'll untap, and we're almost there.
Oh, of course you untap at the end of your
I'll play an Nexus of Fate to take an extra turn.
Uh-oh, you're running low on time.
I will look at the top 2 cards on my library, show you this Nexus of Fate.
Okay.
I will untap all my permanents, and then do another Nexus of Fate. Extra turn, please. And then look at the top 3 cards in my library, and show you this dig through time.
So now you have only Nexus of Fate.
Now I'll go into my next turn. Thank you very much. I'll draw this Nexus of Fate. So let's have more turns. I'll play Nexus of Fate. It's in my library. I'll float 5. I'll untap, and then use the 5 + 3 and play a Nexus of Fate. And then I'll play another Nexus of Fate. We get to this point, Thoralf, where you know that my library is just for Nexus of Fate.
I do.
So can we agree that at the end of my turn, I'll play Nexus of Fates until I have infinite turns? Because every time I'll play Nexus of Fate, I'll untap, play Nexus of Fate, put it back into my library, untap, play Nexus of Fate, put it back into my library, so I'll never run out of turns. Can we agree?
Okay, so what's the deal?
Now that I have infinite turns, I would like to read Lumbering Falls.
Look at that.
It's a land, and it says that if I pay 4, it becomes a 3/3 green and blue elemental creature with hexproof until end of turn.
A 3/3.
Yes.
That's a shame.
Oh, you have a 4/4.
I do.
I will float 7 mana, and I'll play a Commander Classic.
We don't need to read this. Everybody knows what Cyclonic Rift does.
Well, if I pay 7 to overload it, I return every permanent I don't control, every non-land permanent I don't control, to its owner's hand. Okay, you don't have any permanents.
I don't.
I'll attack you for 3.
13.
At the end of my turn, I'll untap. How many turns do I have left?
1,000,000 -1.
This is a land again. I'll draw. I'll attack you for 3.
And time.
Well, Todd, I don't know. Can you deal with this 3/3 hexproof?
Absolutely not.
I'll attack you every turn for it.
Yes, I'll
Okay.
take 3 million damage.
Well, you'll die at 20. Now that game 1 is over, it's time to switch our decks around a little bit. Thoralf is probably bringing in some counter magic and some more hateful spells, so we're gonna bring in a lot of counter spells to be able to counteract those and defend our own.
This might sound weird, but I'm happy to board out Oko. Even though he provides a very quick clock, it's actually not good enough, and I would rather have some permission and interaction and then find the combo and win therefore with that card. I'm talking Mystical Dispute, Night of Autumn to kill the enchantments, Rest in Peace to exile the graveyard, and a singular Sorcerer Spyglass, which isn't great, but has some fringe applications. You can name Fable Passage so he can fetch.
So Thoralf, if I win this 2-0, and then the next 2-0, it'll be my clean sweep. I want to win this tournament 6-0.
And so far, you're on a great track.
I did great with this deck in the Swiss.
I hope we bought enough popcorn.
It's okay, it's a healthy snack. How do you like your hand, healthy snack haver?
Very good. Very good. My starting hand is awesome. If we actually do see the cards I haven't mentioned in any of the interviews before, yes, that deck also plays a Teferi. So I am very happy with my hand.
Well, I wasn't sure, but if your hand is very good. This hand has a bunch of powerful cards, but it's just too slow. I can't beat a very good hand with this one.
I mean, it's barely playable. No 1-drops.
So I'll try again. This has a fog, a counter spell, some ramp. Our engine is perfect. So I'll put this at the bottom of my library, and then show me your 1-drops.
Wow, I just now see I do have a 1-drop.
Oh, it was hidden behind your other card.
Wow. I will play a Botanic Ascendant, which is untapped because it's my first land, and I mean, if I have it, I might as well cast it. I'll Elf. 1 mana, 1/1, makes a green.
It's a Lotus Petal that attacks for 1. I'll play an island, and I'll pass.
I will play an Inspiring Vantage for turn 2, and then I will tap my Green Mox, aka Llanowar Elf on a stick.
For an Oko?
For, no, better.
Cool. Done it. You said it too fast.
No, it's a Teferi. Also, Mega Bend.
Teferi is lights out against us. So many of the things this deck does are just cut out by Teferi. It's a must answer on the spot. We can't float mana at the end of our turn because we can only play spells at sorcery speed. We can't use any of our counter spells to Teferi. We can't even use our fog. So let's say it together. We see a Teferi, we counter a Teferi.
Planeswalker.
Don't need to read it. It's also mega banned from this table. Because if this resolves, I can't win the game anymore. So I'll play Mystical Dispute, which is, I'm sorry, Thoralf, your face makes me want to take it back, but also I need to win this tournament.
This was my 3-card combo.
So I'll play a 1 mana, this costs 3, but it costs 2 less if I target a blue permanent, specifically a Teferi. And I'll counter it unless you pay 3. Can you play 3?
I cannot, and unfortunately, it is gone.
Did you keep your hand just because of the Teferi? Because then I'm pretty happy.
I can neither confirm nor deny that, but yes.
I'll play a Hinterland Harbor.
Oh yeah.
And I'll pass a turn to you.
Life was better when I had a Teferi.
I can see that.
So let's try an Oath of Nissa instead.
Oh, because you want to pay red for your Oko.
It might be in my future. When it enters, I look at the top 3. Unfortunately, those are no Planeswalkers. Counterspelled in your hand?
5.
I will take an Ether Hub, which is a land.
Yeah, you're right.
And
I
makes
can't
an
counter
engine.
that.
I'll play an Ether Hub. And then tap my Ether Hub and my Land of Elf for a Sahili Rai, which does not steal my energy because Oath of Nissa lets me pay with colorless mana.
Very cool.
Sahili enters with 3 counters. And for +1, I'm going to scry 1 and deal you 1 damage.
Well, I did let you read it, but that's just because it's not Teferi. First, I have responses.
Yeah.
I'll play a Gross Pile. Okay. It'll allow me to draw a card and put a land onto the battlefield. I'll play this Hinterland Harbor, and unfortunately, she resolves. You
She goes to 4. I scry 1 and deal you 1 damage.
Yes.
19 more turns.
I see your game plan.
It's the popcorn clock all over again. I do not want that.
Can you eat only 19 popcorns?
But then for -2, which is the real deal of this deck, I can make a copy of a creature. Ooh.
I will play this Blast Zone, which, as you recall, if I pay 3, I can destroy all permanents that cost 1. But if I pay X, I can put that many counters on it and then blow all permanents with a counters equal to that much.
You could destroy my Oath of Nissa and
your Llanowar, which would be a really cool turn, but
right?
If I tap out, I may die. Usually I would just jam a Tamio here. Tamio is our engine, she's what makes the deck tick. But Thoralf can just untap, play a cat, and make infinite damage here. So we're gonna have to keep open our mana and always for the rest of the game bluff that we have a counter spell.
It's my turn?
Yes.
I was really hoping you tap out.
Oh, that makes me see through your hands, Thoralf. Wow. You're turning into a ghost.
I have not much going on, so even though Carl might have a lot of interaction, I can't risk not going for it. So here we go for the classic concept, let them have it. Carl, let me introduce you to a French concept I call Lethai. Let them
I'm not sure that's French.
I will show you a Felidar Guardian.
Oh, cats say meow in every language.
I just calculated every language.
Because Thoralf speaks every language, including cat.
When Felidar Guardian enters the battlefield, it would exile a permanent and then bring it back immediately, which
will not happen yet because I cannot let that resolve. I will pay 1 mana for my Hieroglyphic Illuminations because I'm unlocking the secret extra mode. For 2 mana, you draw 2 cards. For 1, you cycle it, so you just draw 1.
Pretty cool, eh?
And then I will play Opt.
Okay.
Allow me to scry 1 and draw a card. Scry 1 to the bottom and draw a card. It resolves.
It enters the battlefield, and now I would like to target the Oath of Nissa.
Yes.
The Oath of Nissa goes away and then comes back. So now I get an Oath of Nissa trigger. I will look at the top 3 cards. I almost didn't find anything, but I show you a Temple Garden.
Okay.
I put that to my hand. Now, I would like to use the Sahili -2 and make a copy of my Felidar Guardian.
Okay, congratulations. You have 2 cats.
Yes. But 2 cats is not a party yet. We're working on more cats.
It depends how festive the cat is.
I would assume the Felidar Guardian does some very funky parties.
Have you seen its hat?
Felidar Guardian enters the battlefield and exiles.
So is it my turn to get some popcorn?
So here he comes into play, makes a copy. It gets exiled, makes a copy, gets exiled, makes a copy. You get the drill.
So how many cats do you make?
137.
But I'm only at 19.
So that means I can do that again after combat, but for now, all I'm interested in is those cats want to scratch your face.
That's a lot of damage. I brought up prop. I forgot to use it last game.
Prop.
Because when you know it's foggy and you're out at sea and it's really hard to hear, I'll cast Fog. I can even, watch this. Fog. There's plenty more where that came from. I'll prevent all combat damage. I get hit by 137 cats.
Fog. Now, after combat, I still have Saheeli, which is fresh and new, you remember?
Yes.
So we'll plus her. And I scry. I will leave that on top. For no reason. And with that, my turn isn't over yet, no.
Do you also take extra turns?
I play inland.
Okay.
My one land. And all the cats, they loved you so much. And they're very sad they couldn't hunt
This
with
is
you.
a massacre.
They cease to exist.
I live to fog another day. We have infinite fuel with infinite fogs right now in our head. All we need to do to win this game is to get to about 7 mana or untap with a Wilderness Reclamation on the battlefield. Because we have a fog, and then we can get it back with a Tameo, and then we can fog again, and then we have another Tameo that can either dig for more fogs and at the same time bring back our fogs. We can fog for at least 4 turns now. We just need to dig to our Nexus of Fate so we can start taking infinite turns. Thoralf, I hope you enjoyed my megaphone, because I will play a Tameo Collector of Tales. Once again, you can't make me sacrifice anything, including my megaphone, because I'm going to -3 Tameo. I'll put fog back into my hand because I came here to fog. It's a jam. I'll make a music at the end of this song. The outro music won't be the regular one. I'm gonna make something with this, you'll see. And my fog and I shall pass the turn.
Me, my fog, and I. Yeah. I will draw.
I'm getting ready. Do you want to attack?
I mean, at the end of all of this, I would like to attack, yes. But I want to keep you honest as well. So that's why I'm showing you my favorite friend, Teferi.
Oh.
Should we read it now? Because it seems like he's going to join the party.
You can read Teferi.
Teferi Time Reveler. 3 mana, 4 loyalty. +1. Until your next turn, you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flashed.
That's not the relevant text.
-3. Return up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand.
That's not the text you're supposed to read.
Unfortunately, it doesn't say Planeswalker. It would draw a card, but well, the tiny little bonus line is, as a static ability, each opponent can cast spells only anytime as they could cast a sorcery.
Okay, well, while it's on the stack, maybe my last one.
I feel fresh and renewed. That's awesome. She's going up. Life Total card.
17. It's a ticking clock.
Tick-tock. This is a bad card and it should feel bad. I might as well just juice some value out of him. So we're gonna get him to 1 and return the Oath of Nissa, because it is an enchantment, to my hand. I will draw a card. To the surprise of absolutely no one, if you're surprised why, I will cast an Oath of Nissa. We'll get the top 3. Take any creature, land, or planeswalker. I will show you another Saheeli Ride. Play a Botanical Garden tapped, and that's my turn.
And then I don't get to share your turn.
You don't like to share. There's no our turn anymore.
I need to go digging for a Cyclonic Rift. So, I'm gonna tick up Tameo for the other ability. I look at the top 4 cards. Anything named Cyclonic Rift goes to my hand. There's another fog. Maybe I'll get to cast it later. First, I need to find a Cyclonic Rift. I play a Growth Spiral. I play an extra land this turn. I'll play Blast Zone and pass the turn.
Another Blast Zone.
It's not gonna do anything this game.
You see, I'm also very generous. It will just be cats. -2. I make a copy of a Felidar Guardian. Let's make 16 copies. And then my 70 cats want to party with you, but you're not invited. This is not a block party because you have no creatures.
It's a block party. Oh, I'm dead.
Really?
That joke cost me my life. Teferi is proven to be too strong, so we're gonna bring in a removal spell that can kill it at sorcery speed, sure, but at least it can get rid of it if it's on the board. And plus it backs up as a way to kill Saheeli. So I'll combo on the stack, get rid of his Saheeli, and he just has attack. Thoralf, my fogs, my megaphone and I would like to have a word with you.
I don't like it when your megaphone wants to have a word with me because it's really loud.
It is quite loud. This hand is awesome. I have a way to kill Teferi. I can easily draw into some draw spells on my powerful turn 4 where I just slap down a Wilderness Reclamation, untap, and then draw 2 cards. I will keep this hand.
I will show you why I'm not keeping.
Oh, because you don't have any lands.
Yeah, and I heard Magic without lands isn't fun. Well, let's hope those 6 are better. Unfortunately, the mulligan of 6 is a bit dicey. We only have 1 land, a 1 Gilded Goose, and an Oath of Nissa, which can also find more lands. And additionally, we do have quite a strong hand. I think this is fine. And I mean, if we're going down to fine, what do we expect? We have to keep some hands. So we're gonna put down this card because it's specifically bad in multiples.
I will begin by once again refusing to take 2 damage.
Yeah, you refuse to take damage.
I do, and make a point of it.
You will write for me because I will, once again, refuse to not take damage. Tap the green for a Gilded Goose. It's a 1 mana O2 that comes into play with a food because she's hungry. Then for 2 mana, she can make more food if she's really hungry, you know? And then she can eat the food to make 1 mana.
It's really hard to resist food. Have you ever gone grocery shopping when you're hungry?
She lays the eggs. She's producing.
She eats her own egg?
I mean,
I'll pass the turn. Let's not think about it again.
Flavor-wise, maybe not as... It's like, oh. So remember the times where you didn't want to take damage, but I took damage? I will show you Mana Confluence.
Oh, you really want to take damage.
The constant form of slapping yourself in the face.
Yeah, I see that.
And then, I mean, I will not resist to do that instantly.
Oh.
And show you a Heart of Kirin again.
Woo. Yes, that's the one that hits for 4. At the end of your turn, because it's still our turns for now, play a Growth Spiral.
Now you know I have a mystical dispute. I know I have a mystical dispute, but Carl doesn't know that. Now the question is, should we use mystical dispute on this Growth Spiral? And the answer is maybe, but probably not. I mean, it's a guessing game. It is quite harmful for him to not draw a card and pull a land. He plays a deck that mainly interacts of the amount of lands he has access to, but I don't have super much permission and I want to protect my spells because I need to win first. This is my priority. If I don't win, I can disrupt him as much as I want. He's winning eventually. I have to focus on my game plan. That means I want to keep that mystical dispute for something that is very important. Either a Teferi that disrupts Carl indefinitely, maybe the rest in peace in my hand, or maybe I can even force through the combo, but certainly not this Growth Spiral or any other weak spell I could just easily counter.
Allow me to draw a card and pull a land onto the battlefield. I will keep on not taking 2 damage.
It's
not
a good strategy.
On my battlefield. My turn?
Yes.
Thank you. I will play a Castle of Ventress, which will enter tapped unless I control an island.
Many islands.
Because this is a wilderness. Welcome!
Oy. Yeah.
Wilderness Reclamation, as you recall, at the beginning of my end step, which I'll go to now, I untap all my lands, and I'll pass the turn to you.
I will draw and play this Volcanicus Sanctum because it's my 3rd land, and that's the sweet spot. And then we're gonna tap all of them. Bing!
Stop hurting yourself, Thoralf.
And play a Rogue Refiner. When Rogue Refiner enters the battlefield, I draw a card and I will make 2 energy.
In response to you drawing a card, I'll draw 2 cards.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We can both share in the revels. Isn't this fun?
And then he already looks like a pilot. I think he's doing pilot things.
Oh, is that why he's like this?
Yeah, so he cruise.
Zoom, zoom.
Yeah. The Heart of Kirin, I will attack you with this.
Well, that'll be a meep meep to the face for 4.
Okay, so you got a 4-point hug, and it's your turn.
Thoralf, we've been having fun, haven't we?
You're right, we have had fun.
I'll play Hinterland Harbor. I'll play Wilderness Reclamation. It's scry time.
Scry me a river.
I will, quite a few actually. I'll go to the end of my turn, at which point I will pay 1.
It's the end of your turn. It
Floating
means nothing happens.
I don't listen to signs. I have 1 blue floating, and then I will tap this Castle Ardenvale to scry 2.
Yep.
These 3 lands.
Very good.
Ooh, excelente. See, this library knows. I want to activate my megaphone, so it gives me the cards I love.
I don't like you put a card on top. Okay.
And then I'll just untap.
Sorry, the first untap wasn't enough. Yes. I will draw this card, and then I will crew my vehicle to attack you for 4.
I will happily take 4.
I will play a Knight of Autumn, fresh from the sideboard. I will ping myself.
Yes.
And when Knight of Autumn would enter the battlefield, if she resolves, then I can either put 2 counter on her, gain 4 life, or destroy an artifact or enchantment. To the surprise of hopefully nobody, I will destroy an enchantment.
Are you surprised?
If you're surprised, write in the comment. And that's my turn.
Okay, end of your turn, I'll scry. And I'll put still 1 on top because it's wonderful, and 1 on the bottom.
All right.
I'll untap.
Okay.
I'll draw the one I love. I'll play a forest. I'll go to the end of my turn. I will float 6 mana. I'll untap all of my lands. You tried to reduce my mana, but here we are, untapping all of my lands. I'll exile 2 cards. and use my 6 floating mana.
Yeah.
That was cool, right?
Hold on.
To play Dig Through Time. I look at the top 7 cards in my library.
You just spent 8 mana off a card and you're still untapped.
Yes.
It's like, what happened? Yes.
Top 7 cards in my library. I'll find 2 that I want, the 2 that I want, and show you these 2. Oh, you can't look underneath. The card doesn't actually say show, and I put them into my hand.
Yes. Nothing more?
And then it's your turn.
I consider that very fortunate for me. And as usual, I will start my turn by boinking me for 1 and cast a Rest in Peace. Any card that is in the graveyard or any card that will enter the graveyard is exiled instead.
So this is a weird quirk of Magic, but a really strange rules things happen when a Nexus of Fate is trying to go to the graveyard or exile and there's a Rest in Peace. Because Rest in Peace usually just says that anything that would go to the graveyard gets exiled instead. And Nexus of Fate says that instead of going to the graveyard, it gets shuffled into your deck. Normally, what would happen here? It's a stalemate. One of them wants it to get exiled, the other one wants it to get shuffled into his owner's library. And in the end, when 2 cards are trying to fight for the same object, it's the controller of that object who makes the decision. And I'll always shuffle it into my library. So the Rest in Peace doesn't matter for the Nexus of Fate, but it does matter for my Tamiyo, looping back my Fogs. And even if it was fine, if I thought I could win through that, I have 1 Lumbering Falls in my deck, and it's the only way I win the game by attacking for 3 a bunch. And the only way I get it is by plussing my Tamiyo, putting it in my graveyard, and then getting it back eventually. So if the Rest in Peace is on the battlefield, my Tamiyos become considerably worse, because if I +1 them, they might exile my only way to win the game. I will say negate. I'll counter target. Is it a creature? Is it a creature?
It's not a creature.
I will attempt to counter it.
And then I have nothing left but to still try to tickle you as much as I can. So I'm gonna crew the Heart of Kiran, and I will tickle you for 6.
I can take a tickle for 6.
Unfortunately, I don't have a land yet, so it's your turn.
At the end of our turn, I'll Hieroglyphic Illumination, draw 2 cards. I'll go into my jolly old turn. Draw a card.
So this one is your turn, but my turn is our turn.
I love having turns.
I can see that.
I'll play a Tamiyo. Collector of Tales. Does she resolve?
Here we have it again. Carl plays a Tamiyo, and that would be the perfect moment to use our Mystical Dispute, but is that actually the best scenario? And the answer, again, might be yes. But also, let's think of what Carl wants to do. If he plays a Tamiyo, it resolves. He has access to 7 mana, and it seems kind of unlikely that we have a Mystical Dispute because we didn't counter the Tamiyo. So if he finds or has a Nexus of Fate, which at this point seems to be quite likely, then we can make Carl pay all of that 7 mana as well, counter the Nexus of Fate, and have a much, much better application at the end instead of just countering for this easy bait Tamiyo.
You're not sure?
No, yeah.
I will go digging for Nexus of Fates. If any of these are Nexus of Fates, ooh, the rest go into my graveyard. If I name Thoralf, do you go into my graveyard?
Do you have a graveyard?
In this economy? I will go to my turn.
Yes.
Pay 2.
Absolutely.
Untap.
Absolutely.
I would like to Nexus of Fate, please.
This is where I say no. I've saved.
You have a counter spell this whole
I've
time.
saved this for eternities. I will Mystical Dispute your Nexus of Fate.
Well played, but also, Thoralf, that's fine.
Untap.
It's still our turn.
Okay, now we can.
I do.
Take the damage.
No.
Pass the turn.
I'll pay 1 green before you draw a card. And I heard you always fog in someone's upkeep because they may draw a counter spell. Do you have a counter spell?
No, I don't.
Okay. Prevent all combat damage. Do your turn. Get your things. Make your cats. I'll be waiting.
Okay. Draw.
I forgot.
For the 3 mana I have, I will cast my Sahili.
Never not hitting yourself.
I will cast the Sahili.
That is fine.
She enters the battlefield with 3 loyalty counters.
Is she dealing me 1 damage again?
-2 for my Gilded Goose. Yes,
Do you
I'm
really
gonna make
need the food?
a copy of the Gilded Goose. So I get a food token and a Gilded Goose copy.
You know you're supposed to win this game, right?
Why are you reading my cards in our turn?
Because it seems like you're making grave mistakes.
She's just hungry and she said like, I need more food, I need more food. So I will thank Sahili by sending her on a nice earned vacation and crew my vehicle. Now, combat.
Thoralf, there's no combat damage. I fogged.
I will attack you for 9.
Well, this one's in German, but it says prevent all combat damage in every language.
Absolutely correct. I will tap my Gilded Goose and eat the food to make a red mana. And I'm gonna Wild Slash you.
Okay, I go to 4.
Wild Slash deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Ferocious. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, damage
No!
can be prevented this turn.
I haven't played in this card for like a decade.
Yeah. I had to read it myself when I drew it. I thought, that's gonna come in handy.
Well played.
Can you loop that?
Yeah, you know what?
Well played.
Well played. Well played. Well played, dog. 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 Well played. Well
I
played,
didn't know
dog.
where that came from.
Dog.